Well, Zion National Park is an extremely popular and busy park. It's also been in the news several times this year for everything from crazy flash floods burying cars to the unfortunate recent death of a hiker. Welcome back to another travel news episode. I'm your host, Robert Witham. I scour the news for stories of interest to travelers and those who love the great outdoors so you don't have to. In each travel news episode, I try to keep you apprised of what's going on out there. Did you know that I am on Patreon? You can join me there for as little as $1 a month. That's $1 a month, less than you can probably find a cup of coffee for these days. And that gains you access to behind the scenes stories and photos, as well as early access to videos, news, and more. Visit patreon.com/Robert Witham if you want to check that out and learn more about it. Moving into our news for this episode, a 32-year-old man from Wisconsin tragically died while hiking in Zion National Park on Monday, August 30th. Henry Wolf of Milwaukee was hiking along a route known as the Subway on the left fork of North Creek when he began to complain of heat exhaustion. Emergency medical providers responded and found Wolf unresponsive at the scene. Emergency medical personnel performed CPR for approximately 1 hour in an attempt to resuscitate Wolf. Having worked in EMS for a number of years, some time ago, I can tell you that that's quite an effort there, and quite a heroic effort on the part of EMS. And they certainly sounds like they did everything they could to save the man's life. National Park Service and Washington County Sheriff's Department, Washington County, Utah, of course, are investigating this case. A few observations I want to share about this sad story. First, my condolences to Mr. Wolf's family and friends. This is a tragedy, and I am sorry for their loss. Never like hearing stories like this. I have heard too many stories this year, just in 2021, of people dying while hiking during extreme heat, and this does not even count the heat-related deaths that were not associated with recreation. So earlier in the summer, there were hundreds of deaths in the Northwest and up into Canada when that big heat wave came through. But I've heard a lot of stories just this summer of heat-related illness leading to death while people were hiking or otherwise recreating out in the backcountry. On Monday, August 30th, when this incident occurred, temperatures in Zion National Park reached 102 degrees. Here's the thing. Exercise during extreme heat anywhere, no matter what, humid, dry, anything else, and this is like so many areas of the country have been experiencing this year, it's dangerous. And people get themselves into trouble even in many parts of the country during that kind of heat with exercise, but it's especially dangerous if you're not accustomed to exercising in similar temperatures and conditions. And here's the thing. I can't say I'm not missing one, but every one of the heat-related hiking deaths that I can remember from this year involved people in the desert areas with extreme heat who were not living in those desert areas. They were living in somewhere else, whether Wisconsin or otherwise. And some of the ones I can think of off the top of my head include Massachusetts and Washington State and the San Francisco area. So there are places that might get heat, but it's different than in the desert. There's a phenomenon I've heard described. I think they call it heat tourism, to explain to these people who on purpose come to places like Death Valley National Park in the middle of summer when it's 130 degrees. I guess it's something that some people just want to experience that kind of extreme heat. But experiencing that kind of heat is one thing, assuming you have a reliable vehicle and you're in places where you can, we carry in water and you're hopefully able to stay safe if something does go wrong. But here's the thing: in humid areas of the country, you're likely to know more easily that your body's overheating if you're exercising in hot and humid weather. In dry desert areas like Death Valley National Park, Zion National Park, it is very easy to become dangerously overheated and dehydrated faster than you might expect. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, by the time you realize you're in trouble, it may well be too late. There's not a lot of shade. You can only carry just so much water, and after I promise you, after a little while hiking at 100, 110, 120 degree heat, your water is like, it tastes like you're drinking coffee temperature or tea temperature water. It's not cold and not very refreshing. It'll still help hydrate you, but it's not going to do as much to cool you down as when it's cooler, when the water's cooler. My daughter, I mentioned before, a couple of my kids used to be wildland firefighters. My daughter was a crew chief for a couple years and fought fires in Montana and other places. And she always used to tell her crew, she was always asking them to drink water, drink water, drink water. And she'd remind them that by the time you're thirsty, you're already getting behind. And so if you're hiking, you're almost always thirsty. And I'm not, that's just the way it is. You can't, if you're hiking in hot weather, you can't carry enough water to where you're not going to be thirsty. It's just the way it is. But you still have to keep yourself hydrated. But it's really easy to become overheated and dehydrated very quickly, especially if you're not used to desert heat and dryness. So all I want to say is, we've seen so many tragic stories of heat-related deaths this summer. Please be careful. If you're watching this video, I like to keep you around for a while. So please be careful if you're in that kind of weather. And really, I mean, if you're going to hike in the desert in the summer, you really just have to do it first thing in the morning, like at sunup, and keep it short, and then, quit before it gets too hot. Maybe in the evening, but again, a lot of times it won't even cool down till midnight or later. So you almost end up having to limit any hiking or outdoor exercise to just an hour or two in the morning, right around sunup. All right, also out of Zion National Park. I don't know how else to describe this story other than interesting, but at least it's not as tragic as the first one. A suspect wanted a connection to an alleged series of fires to LDS churches and in dumpsters fled when police attempted to stop his vehicle last week. The man is reported to have fled from St. George, Utah into Zion National Park while attempting to elude police officers. I don't know what the thinking was going into a national park to get away, but they followed him. And you've probably heard that saying, you can't outrun the long arm of the law. Well, it applies here. The suspect was taken into custody after crashing at Canyon Junction Bridge in Zion National Park. Yet another fire was started at the crash site. I couldn't find any details on whether the fire was started intentionally by the suspect after he crashed, or if it was like a triggered by the vehicle crash, whether fuel leaking or hot exhaust on brush and things. I'm not sure what triggered it, but firefighters did respond and extinguish the blaze quickly. The Washington County Sheriff's Department, Springdale Fire and Police Department, Hurricane Fire Department, Zion National Park law enforcement were all involved in the case. And to make it more interesting, an investigation is underway now with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms leading the investigation. All of which says to me there's a little more to this case than has been reported in the press release and in the news thus far. Well, don't forget, travelers, send me links or details for stories you think might be of interest. You can email those to me at robert.witham@gmail.com. Thanks to those already shared news and links. Please like this video. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you're not already. And if you're interested in the traveling lifestyle or becoming a nomad, you may want to check out my online course, Nomad Lifestyle 101, for all of the information you need to be successful as a nomad, all in one place, along with access to me for any questions or concerns you may have. Link to that course is in the video description below. Thanks for joining me for this travel news episode. We'll catch you in the next one.